43 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
All right, we have some breaking news. We told you earlier that of the 100-plus hostages taken, more than 50 family members have been contacted. Those who have been contacted, four American families. There's one woman born and raised in California. She's being held hostage by Hamas, and 3 other Americans who were in Israel are being held against their will, and their families have been contacted. They just got done having a press conference, and the son of the mother who was missing, they asked him if he'd been in contact with Israeli officials, and he said, not a word, nothing. So you can sense his frustration. I can't even imagine what that family is going through. But while we're negotiating with terrorists, or the Israelis are, or finding out where these people are, Blinken wants to have a ceasefire. People were getting raped, kidnapped, slaughtered, and let's have a ceasefire. I don't know if that's the time for that. So with that, let's welcome back to the program Ed Morrissey. You know him, you love him. He's senior editor for hotair.com. Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Thank you so much. And good morning, John. Thank you for having me on.
So what about this alleged talks of a ceasefire? While we even, there's probably Palestinian militants, Hamas members still inside Israel, and we haven't even gotten the hostages back yet.
Yeah, this was insane. That this was the very first gut instinct response of an American Secretary of State is a demonstration of the cowardice of this administration. Your ally has been brutally attacked in the most barbaric fashion possible, and your first instinct is to tell your ally, "Oh, you should really stop fighting and see if they'll stop fighting." I can't even wrap my mind around what an embarrassment that is for the United States, what a humiliation it is for the United States. And it doesn't surprise me because, of course, this is the same administration that bailed out of Afghanistan so badly that they had asked the Taliban permission to use the airport for an evacuation. This is part and parcel with this administration. It's disgusting. It's despicable. Everybody involved in that should resign.
Are you shocked at America's reaction? There was a huge protest, a Palestinian or celebration or whatever that was. We had one in Chicago. There was a big one in New York. There was a huge one in London. What are they celebrating exactly? And there was also a huge one in Canada. And I love this. Kate Canada, she tweets out, convoy against mandates, COVID mandates. Trudeau froze their bank accounts. Convoy of actual terrorist sympathizers. Not a peep from Trudeau. No frozen bank accounts. Are we paying attention yet?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm shocked. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm even surprised. These are people who, Barry Weiss had an excellent piece up today at the Free Press, basically saying this is what decolonization looks like. These are the people that would load Jews onto the trains and send them off to the camps.
Wow.
If you think that impulse doesn't exist today, take a look at what's going on with Democratic Socialists of America. They're the ones that did that one in New York, and the ones in Canada. We have not absorbed the never again message, and that's exactly what decolonization looks like. It looks like sending the Jews off to the camps.
Well, talk about that CNN analyst, Aaron David Miller.
Yeah, okay, so, this is a little bit of a different thing. I'm not going to accuse Aaron David Miller of that.
No.
This is a little different thing. But Aaron David Miller is a Mideast negotiator and a CNN analyst, and apparently not very good at either one of these two things, because even while the attacks were still going on, this is Saturday morning, I believe, while the attacks were still going on, while the IDF was still trying to come up with a response to that, his analysis said the real problem is going to be Israel's response. The real problem is going to be Israel's response, not the terrorism that was going on, not the fact that the Gazans launched a war against Israel, because that is exactly what happened on Friday. The real problem was that Israel was going to respond. And I mean, that's just stunning when you think about that. It's like saying, well, the real problem is when the Poles respond to the Nazis invading Poland, right? The real problem is going to be, what America does after 9/11, and we heard that, right? There were people out there saying that. Well, the real problem is, America's response. What's America's response going to be? And not to say that there's not open debate for these types of things, but that wasn't the real problem in 9/11. That wasn't the real problem on Saturday.
That's true. You know what? I think one of the reasons why they wanted a ceasefire so quick was because they wanted to continue their barbecues and their hip hop parties at the White House. So that's why they wanted a ceasefire.
They had a party plan, and they weren't. No one was going to ruin their party on Saturday night.
Yeah.
With a band. And,
exactly.
In the Rose Garden.
I mean, that to me is the most astounding part of this, right? Not just the party either, but the fact that they were calling lids at 11:30 in the morning on Sunday and Monday too. We've had at least 11 Americans killed. We've got you were mentioning this in the news break that there's at least 4 American families who have been notified that their relatives are among the hostages. And Joe Biden is finally going to show up on Tuesday, 4 days later, to say something in front of the camera. He'll mumble something in front of the camera, won't take any questions, and somebody will have to point him to the way off the stage because he can't find it on his own.
Now,
this to me is absolutely, again, despicable.
Now, Ed, let's look further down the road. China. I think they're looking at the responses of world leaders. Who's going to say anything? Do you think we'll see an invasion of Taiwan soon?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's a different kettle of fish. First off, you got to cross water to get to Taiwan, and that is always a risk. Taiwan's also ready for it. It's also a risk. And Taiwan has very high technological capabilities. The U.S. is still a wild card in that, although I'm pretty sure that China's discounting any significant military, direct military action with the U.S. if they decide to do that. But it's a risk. China's untested.
Right.
China's army is untested,
yep.
and so is their navy, for that matter. So there are risks in doing this, and I think one of the things that China might be looking at is how badly the Russians have bungled Ukraine. I mean, I'm sure they expected, just on reputation, Vladimir Putin to walk over Ukraine in the first week of that war. We're now coming up almost to year 2 on this thing, and he's losing ground everywhere in that. And I think that there's a real lesson for China to learn in this. They've got bigger issues at home anyway. I'm not sure that they're really ready to bite off of that. Hong Kong was easier. Hong Kong was handed to them. Nobody's going to hand Taiwan to them.
Right.
Now, Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham, always war hungry. He wants to go to war against the Ayatollah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I'm not sure that it's really wise to declare a war as much as it would feel good to do that. Iran's got its own capabilities,
Right.
but I do think that we need to understand that Iran is coordinating and directing all of these things, and Russia's aligned itself with Iran. Russia, and not just recently, not just during the Ukraine war, they were supporting Iran in Syria too. They were helping to prop up Iran's puppet in Syria, Bashar Assad. If you talk about the axis of evil, there is an axis there, and it includes China. They want to prop up Iran because that's their client that allows them to have more influence in that region. One of the reasons why we have always been Sunni-oriented in that region is because of that, especially after the Islamic Revolution in 1979. And we're going to have to come to grips with the fact that all of this is being directed by Iran, and we have to direct some of our efforts against Iran here. That doesn't necessarily have to be open war, but we have to drop the scales from our eyes and realize that Iran really is the biggest problem that we're dealing with here.
I agree.
Do you think, they say that they're not going to let them use the money, the $6 billion that we just gave them in exchange for those prisoners. They said they're not going to let them use that money unless it's for humanitarian or, measures or for
Right, to feed their people.
military,
Yeah.
right, to feed the people.
They were having to take the money out of their budget prior to that to feed the people, right? So now that they have access to the $6 billion for food and medicine, they don't have to take that money out of their budget anymore. This is why we say money is fungible.
Yep.
So now they have more money to direct towards terror operations. I mean, if anybody actually believes what the White House has to say, I'd really like to be their accountant.
Well, do you think if President Trump were in office, this would have happened?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Eventually, this would have happened. Donald Trump wasn't really. I mean, Donald Trump took aim at Qasem Soleimani because of what was going on in Iraq. He wasn't doing it to help the Israelis. I mean, he was helping the Israelis in other ways. Don't get me wrong. He was trying to unify them with the Sunni nations and was doing a pretty good job of it. But Hamas was always going to do this because it's not about who's president with these guys. These guys are jihadists. They're about the jihad, and they are a client state of Iran. And Donald Trump was tough on Iran too. I mean, he killed the Iran deal, and Iran had every reason to resent that. And so, yes, absolutely, it would have happened if Donald Trump was president. It would have happened no matter who was president.
All right, Ed Morrissey, senior editor for HotAir.com. Anything you're working on today that you'd like to give us a tease?
Oh, goodness. Will, I have a post coming up about IDF sealing the border, calling up 360,000 reservists, so you know what that's for. I take a look at what that means for Gaza, what that means for later I'll take a look at what that means for Iran. This is completely changed. Israel's approach here. This is not the tit-for-tat type of thing. This is not the measured or proportional response. This is all-out war, and I suspect that Gaza will no longer be a Palestinian, with quotes around it, territory by the time this operation's over.
Hey, Ed, during the switch over, I lost my John Anthony was right. I need my John Anthony was right.
You need Ed Morrissey to
I
say.
would play that all the time on my show.
You want to play along, Ed? Relive the moment? Okay, ready? 3, 2, and 1.
John Anthony was right.
Boom.
Oh, my
Thanks,
God.
Ed.
You asked for some strange stuff, my friend.
I do.
All right, thanks, Ed, for playing along, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If your car goes on the fritz, you rush to the garage for repairs. But if you've got high blood pressure, well, what do you do then? 1 out of 2 adults have high blood pressure. It's not a rare occurrence. It's not like a super blue moon. And the thing is, managing it has gotten so much easier. Now you can get help from a small bottle of juice from my friends at 120 Life. It's a natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure without enriching Big Pharma or the side effects of pills. The juice has pomegranates, tart cherries, cranberry, hibiscus, beetroot, and magnesium, all natural ingredients that help control my blood pressure. I'm taking it. I love it. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. and order their 2-week trial pack. Order it now. Enjoy risk-free money-back guarantee. If you don't see lower blood pressure numbers in 2 weeks, you get your money back. You're not going to see that from Big Pharma. Use coupon code LIBERTY at checkout. Save 15%. 120life.com. We need more stuff like this.
All right, doing it right now, taking Balance of Nature. I actually just finished that. What? I got a little drop left here.